G'day there, SWM Superdual owners, SWM owners and potential SWM owners. I'm doing this video in response to a lot of questions that people put on the SWM owners Australia New Zealand site. This is particularly to the Superdual. I'm sure there's guys that own the 500s that could do something like this for the 500s. Mate of mine's got one. He's had a few little issues here and there, but generally he's, you know, it's been a pretty good bike, and a lot of the 500 owners have been pretty happy with their bikes. So on with this. A few things that have happened over the last 3 years. I was one of the first 47 owners of the bikes that came into Australia in 2017. The only difference they made with the 17 to the rest of the models that have come out is the colour, obviously, and also the 18 onwards have got ABS and a fuel gauge. Mine doesn't have ABS and it doesn't have a fuel gauge. There's a fuel light. Other than that, they're identical bikes. Oh, mine's Euro 3, which means I can put an arrow map in it. I didn't have all the issues with the tuning and all that on mine that 18 model owners had initially when they came out, but we'll cover that. Right, okay, first thing I'll say that I've done when one of the first things I did was modify my seat, as most people do, and then they came out with an aftermarket seat a year later or so, and it's okay. It's good for what most of the riding I do is in the bush, and I'm standing up on the pegs anyway, so I don't mind it. But when I'm on a bit of a long trip, I just put an air hawk on. Some people like them, some people don't. I love them. I reckon these things are so good. Like, oh, they're just so cushy. Like, just my ass loves it. My ass loves it. Anyway, air hawk seats, they're great. And then you can just take them off when you're doing your bush riding or slide it back. I just slide it back when I'm not, when I'm not doing that. Okay, couple other things that have that haven't been very good on the bike when they came out was a lot of people was the rear subframe bolts. They used to snap. One of the reasons for that, they weren't a very strong bolt, and they had a tendency to snap. So basically SWM done a factory upgrade and replaced, mainly it was this one and the one here on the other side, because they're quite a long thin bolt, and you used to actually be able to do that and you could bend the whole thing, but with these new upgrade ones they're good. Mine never broke because I Loctited them on when I got the bike, and I never had an issue. When I replaced them at 10,000 they were almost going to break, so SWM replaced them, which was really good. And also the lower mesh filter that's in the motor. Sorry, wrong side. That's that one there. Basically, you've got to take your side cover off here, and it's inside to get to that mesh filter. Generally, I do that on major services. I do my oil every 2,500, only because I go through the bush and stuff like that. So, yeah. The other issue was these taps, and I mentioned that yesterday. On the 17 model, the RS650s they break, but you can get an IMS I think it is, aftermarket tap, which is strong as, and they don't break. And the main reason SWM didn't do anything about it, because they actually fixed that tap problem on the 18 models. So there you go. Okay, that's pretty much it to date, except for some of the tuning issues I had in the early days on the 18 models with it started out. Okay, more problems that have come to light or existing is okay, I think they might have to do something with this. These strip out with people a bit. I've done one of them, stripped one of them out, and I wouldn't say I'm heavy-handed, which I'm not. I mean, you can live with it. You can just be a bit gentle with it. I put Allen keys in there. And the other issue that a few people I've noticed on a forum have been talking about is the oh, bloody hell, the headstem bearings. Never had an issue with mine. As soon as, I think it was either around 5,000 or 10,000, I can't remember now, I actually pulled mine out, pulled my front end off, and I re-greased my whole headstem bearing, put it back in. Never had an issue. So Whether they're not seated, I've heard of them failing very early on a couple. My view of that is it's either been a faulty bearing, or they haven't seated it properly on the production line, or haven't tensioned it down properly, I'd say. But even that, some people have been replacing them at 35, 45,000. I'd say maybe they're not the best bearing, or maybe they're not seated properly, or something like that, because yeah, so some people mention. But I mean, I've never had a problem. Make sure, like one of those things you get the bike, you know, take your front end off, make sure it's seated properly. Another thing I did was I replaced the front oil in these forks. I put a 7.5 weight Motor X oil in them, because I found the front end too soft, and that improved the front end out of sight. It really improved the ride of the bike. And a few people have had problems with their fork oil, their forks leaking. So yeah, not necessarily blowing fork seals, just more leaking. And another issue I've never had. So I honestly don't know. Yeah. So anyway, that's the problems that some people have had, and they're some of the fixes. I think maybe the headstem bearing is possibly worth looking into. But I mean, if you do it yourself, you sort it out, or get it done under warranty, one or the other if your bike's under warranty. But I've never had a problem. Prevention is better than cure, they say. So if you're good on your motorcycle maintenance, I mean, you can't always just put in or do and say do this. You got to remember, they're on the clock, they're getting paid by the hour. It doesn't matter what motorcycle you have or what motorcycle you go to. You know, if you find a good guy, that's fine. And if you're not real maintenance orientated, or you don't have time, just find a good mechanic that'll do what you ask and do it properly. Righto, okay, I've gone long enough, waffled on heaps, and I'm going to do it, since this is the lockdown in Victoria. I mean, we're only going to go regional lockdown. I'm probably going to do one of these most days, just to you know, give you a bit of a rundown. And to be honest with you, is about the bike. I love the bike. It's a fantastic bike. These are absolutely brilliant motorcycle. I've flogged mine for 15,000 k's like an enduro bike, and it was never, well, it's let me down once. I had a wire on the stator give way. It wasn't the wire, it was the clamp on the stator. Sorry, that's one thing, but I've never heard of that before. That's just a one-off. That's the only problem I've ever had, and that was a one-off thing. So yeah, but I sorted that out. Other than that, it's never let me down. And you know, the way I've ridden this, it's more like 30, 40, 50,000 k's. But anyway, that's my rant of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. It's given you some food for thought. But they're a really good bike. They're really comfortable once you sort your seat out. Great standing position, heaps of power, fantastic smooth gearbox, super smooth clutch, great suspension. They're just a fantastic bike, an adventure bike. It's an enduro bike decked out to an adventure bike, basically. So it's pretty much, I reckon, it's an enduro bike in disguise. So there you go. Okay, see you all later.